We've been tracking developments surrounding the politics of choosing Nigeria's next Senate president, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and their complementary officers. And as we stick to this task, we are now being joined by a ranking senator and member of the People's Democratic Party, Adamu Balkachuwa, who represents Bauchi North District in the Senate. We also want to speak with him about how leaderships of the National Assembly have emerged in the past, the present leadership race, and the attendant furor, as well as highlighting what would engender a mutual and peaceful executive legislature relationship in the next dispensation. Many thanks for joining us this afternoon. Welcome to Newsday.
Thank you.
As the intro announced, it has been quite a few days. Many people are watching the intrigues of what is going on in terms of the leadership position doling out for the next couple of weeks. So what would it take to have a united, progressive executive, especially now when it seems there's a lot of political wrangling and chicanery?
Well, the legislature is not like the executive, where the president appoints at his whims and caprices his cabinet, ministers, and even those he would want to take charge of parastatals or MDAs. Ministries, departments, and agencies. In the legislature, all the senators and the members of the House are equal. And not only that they are equal, but they have the same rights and privileges. So when it comes to electing leadership within the Senate or within the House, each member or each senator has equal rights, and normally the voting is secret ballot. In some few cases, there would be a division. Division meaning if there are only maybe two candidates, then those who support a certain candidate will move to one side of the chamber, and the others who support another candidate would move physically to the other side of the chamber. So at the end, the clerk will count how many people are on each side. But in the case of a secret ballot, a ballot paper will be given out to each senator or member. And then they will go and write the name of their candidate or their choice for president of the Senate or for speaker, and then drop it in a certain box. At the end, when everybody else has voted, then they will bring out and begin to open the ballot papers and see and separate them according to candidates' names and count each contestant how many votes that contestant has scored. And by that process, the president of the Senate or speaker will emerge. Now, it's common, it's usual for parties to try to advise the members-elect or senators-elect as to their own choice, the choice of the party. But usually, if they are not careful, that choice, the whole process may boomerang. And so it's much, much better for the party or parties in this respect, in the 10th Senate and 10th National Assembly, the House inclusive, there are about 8 parties being represented. And each party that has fielded and won seats will call its own members elect, or senators elect, and try to tell them what they wish for them to elect. But eventually, finally, it is the members elect or senators elect that will decide who they want to elect or vote for. Because in that chamber, they would be the only people except the presiding officer, who would be the CNA, the clerk of the National Assembly. He will conduct that voting. No other person, no party official will be there. Only those members or senators will be in the chamber. So at that point, they will do exactly as they wish, and the results will reflect their wish, not anybody's wish. That's how the process is.
Now, Senator Balkachuwa, on Wednesday, we had the National Publicity Secretary of the APC on our program. That's Mr. Felix Morka. And he said the reason why the National Working Committee of the APC is getting involved is to ensure that the legislature works harmoniously with the executive. According to him, he says separation of powers does not mean that these arms of government should be at each other's throats. I'd like you to react to that, please.
Well, you see, we have seen examples from 1999 to the 9th Senate or 9th National Assembly. You see, it all depends on the mood and the thinking of the members and the senators. If they decide to cooperate with the executive, they certainly will do that. And whether the party is, the party in power will advise only, they can only advise their own members. They can't dictate to the members of other parties. They can't dictate to senators of the other parties. Their own is just an advice. And they can only advise their own members of their party or senators of their party. But you see, so it's better, it's advisable to talk to them individually and advise them. You can't dictate to any senator that has already been elected and sworn in, or member that has been elected and sworn in. At that point, it's they, as a body, as a House of Representatives or as a Senate, they are the ones to decide. Whoever even they vote for to be the Senate President, he has to listen to them. Because I remember very well in 1999, the Speaker was impeached within, I think, 6 months or 8 months of his being elected as Speaker. So they have the absolute right and responsibility to conduct their affairs the way they wish.
All right, fair enough. Could you speak on the way representatives are chosen and selected for individual positions, and also your opinion on the zoning arrangement? Some discussion has come into play whether it is somewhat manipulative, as some states are calling for more representation, or whether or not it should be based more on ranking of the individual. So just to speak on the selection process of the individuals who fill the highest seats?
Well, you see, the whole thing is politics. We shouldn't forget that. And the politics doesn't stop after election. It continues even within the legislature. So every member-elect, every senator-elect is conscious of the fact that the constituency he represents needs to have a fair deal. And presidencies and past experiences will be taken into account. And since this latest democracy we are practicing started in 1999, and successive governments have come and gone. So it depends on the members and senators themselves to really defend the interest of their constituencies and indeed their zones, because even though these zones are not constitutionally recognized, no, the Constitution doesn't recognize Northwest, Northeast, Southeast, it doesn't. But the fact that these units exist in practice, so senators and members from these zones, sometimes they compare notes and they decide what is good for them and how fair they would be to others. So they negotiate and then agree. And finally, it's the result of the negotiations and the agreement reached within the chamber that will make any meaning or any sense and will show the results in the actual voting. So that's the process. The party may have its own at that level, but I thought from beginning, parties have zoned presidency, have zoned other leadership positions like the running mates, and within states, the governorship and the deputy governorship. But after that, the election, the voters decided who they will send to be president, who they will send to be vice president, and they have already done that. And these members and senators also were brought to the National Assembly by the voters. So at that point, parties must be careful that they have done their own. They gave tickets to those they wanted. That doesn't necessarily mean those who got the ticket must win, but through their own individual efforts, they won their seats. So from that point, I think the parties should tread softly. Instead of telling them the National Working Committee of each party meeting and saying that this is what we want you to do, they should know, they should just advise or even listen to them. What is your view? How do you want this thing to be handled? Taking into consideration fairness, zoning, and all other considerations, political considerations. But if they try to force issues, what happened in the 8th Senate could repeat itself.
Now, Senator Balkachuwa, before we let you go, I'd like you to give an assessment of the performance of the 9th Assembly as it winds down, and what more can the people of Bauchi North expect from you as we look ahead to the inauguration of the 10th National Assembly?
Well, you know, truly, I think the 9th Assembly has done very well, because we cooperated fully with the president of Nigeria. We tried to allow him, to give him the opportunity to run the country in accordance with his policies, since his election was based on his own personal manifesto and the policies he laid out during the campaigns. And we thought we shouldn't stand in his way to prevent him from doing some of the things he intended to do. So I think in that respect, the Ninth Assembly has been very responsible assembly. And I think we have protected the interest of the common Nigerian, the Nigerian voter, Nigerian citizen. The Ninth Senate has protected their interest. And you can see all the projects and the programs that President Muhammadu Buhari brought. We have supported him, and I'm sure Nigerian citizens have benefited tremendously from those programs with the cooperation of the Ninth Assembly. If we
by supporting the president, does that now make the parliament rubber stamp, as some people have called it?
Oh my goodness! I mean, it's not everything that he requested that we gave him, and if you recollect, there are other things that we turned down, and in fact, we reached a point when or where we decided to kind of reprimand the president on security issues and even threaten him with impeachment in the event that the notice we gave him of 6 weeks, if nothing improved, despite our cooperation and our granting him all the financial support that he required to execute the war against insurgency and banditry. So you can see, we didn't just become rubber stamp. We see reason and we cooperated with him. It's not just that he has brought selfish things and we rubber stamp what he brought, even though we knew it was selfish. No, we didn't do that. I'm sure if you recall, you know that all the things he brought are reasonable and good for the country, and we have allowed it.
Well, Senator Adamu Balkachuwa, it was good to have you on the show this afternoon. Thank you for coming in to have this discussion with us.